Right now, your home is slowly poisoning you, and your houseplants might be the only thing standing between you and a NASA identified toxic cocktail of formaldehyde, benzene, and trichloroethylene. Yes, NASA. Studies prove that one 6-inch pot per 100 square feet can transform your indoor air, but most people are choosing the wrong plants. Stick around because what you're about to learn will change every room in your house. I help homeowners, serious gardeners, and businesses fix their plant, lawn, and landscape problems using professional, horticultural, and contractor-tested methods without wasting money on gimmicks. Hit like, subscribe, and let's breathe. Let's bring the outside in. Have you ever thought about that concept before, bringing the outside in? It's actually kind of cool when you think about it because there's just so much that's going on in the world of gardening, in the world of landscaping, that sometimes we don't think that this is what we need to do. Well, gardening, believe it or not, they are the leaders in mask technology. Do you remember that time when we were forced to put masks on? Anyway, can you? But gardening actually are the leaders in that, and I'm going to prove to you how and why that is. So what we're talking about over here is bringing the outdoors in, and we have to understand some basic principle concepts here. First off, one medium-sized tree produces 260 pounds of oxygen, almost as much as I weigh. One medium-sized tree, okay, I weigh more than that, but one person only needs half of that tree to live on per year. In other words, only 130 pounds is what you need to do. Now, you grow the other half, and then I need to breathe, all right? If you would do that for me. The thing is green, this is a things green tree. See what I did there? It's a, okay, so the more leaves that you have, the better it is. A large leafy tree can produce as much oxygen in a season as 10 people inhale in a year. So we got to give thanks to willow trees. This does not include any trees that go deciduous, because when trees go deciduous, they lose their leaves and they're not producing oxygen. They've gone to sleep. So an acre of trees annually will consume the amount of carbon dioxide equivalent that is produced by driving an average car for 26,000 miles. I don't even drive that much every year. It's crazy, but I don't. You would think that I did. Back in the day, I did, but now I don't. Now, what's really interesting is that if you were to think of that concept, but go to Pikes Peak, you know where that's at? Big old gigantomous mountain in the United States here. They have something up in the ski chalet at the very top. It's a restaurant, it's a gift shop. They happen to have, of all things, an oxygen bar up there. Now it's like, why would they have something like that? An oxygen bar up on a mountain? Well, the thing of it is that that particular mountain, way up on top, they don't have that many trees. It's all snow. Yeah, because there's what they call a tree line. You ever hear about the tree line? Tree line's really important because the trees only do go up so much. So if you take that 1 acre that we talked about, albeit very important, on the other side, you do have things that where the trees don't grow. And that's kind of something that we have to keep in mind over here. But what about in our concrete jungle? If you live in a city, is that bad? Is that bad that you don't have any trees? Well, it kind of is, because you need the trees to clean up the oxygen that's there. That's why the folks in, I think it's Japan, they have something that is called mini forests. Have you ever heard of those before? These mini forests are superb oxygen givers. In fact, what they've done is that they've actually taken land, they'll take small amounts of land, parkland usually, and in fact, even smaller than that. It could be maybe a couple thousand square feet. And they blast it with a whole bunch of trees. And you know what they do? They force their people to go out into the mini forest or the forest, there are many forests, to do this forest bathing so that they walk through the plants, so that they walk through the trees, and a lot of miraculous things happen. They found out that they become more productive. They become happier. You see, 90% of all of our time is spent indoors. They are spent indoors. So you would think that wearing a mask that has a bunch of leaves on there would be kind of a good thing, or hooking yourself up to a terrarium. That would be a good thing. Kind of would be, if you think about it, because those plants are giving yourself oxygen. Now, there were these human responses that have the studies done, and there were 6 conditions examined on window views and indoor plants. They did a study on windows with a view of a city. So you open up your doors, you see the city, right? They did one on a window with the view of the city and indoor plants, window with a view of nature, window with the view of nature and indoor plants, and then without a window, or a window view, I should say. And then they ended up doing one that was pretty wild. A window without a view and without indoor plants. And the human response to the window views and indoor plants were really interesting because there were conditioned results that had happened. Participants were less nervous or anxious when watching the view of nature or when indoor plants were present. When either the window view or the indoor plants were shown, participants suffered the highest degree of tension and anxiety. So what does it boil down to? And by the way, they did this with fake plants too. So there are psychological benefits to this whole thing. All right, so the psychological benefits were that plants rule. That's basically what it is. And there were other benefits as well. We're going to talk about those. So when we're talking about plants, whether they're fake plants or they're real plants, and there's views, whether it's of the city and the views, you could have the city views, you could have all kinds of stuff, but the one thing that we do know is that being that we spend 15%, not 15%, when we spend all this time indoors, 90% of the time indoors, we are exposed to indoor pollution. And the exposure is really interesting from where it comes from. We're talking paints, wood preservatives, aerosol sprays, moth repellents, refresheners. We're talking carpet, plastics of every single type. The list just goes on and on. It's amazing. The building materials and the furnishing, office equipment, such as copiers and printers, correction fluids, carbonless paper, a lot of stuff, hobby supplies, stored fuels. That's where a lot of these come from. So keeping that in mind, what are you exposed to? So the indoor pollutants and exposures are amazing. And what are you going to end up happening to you? You're going to have the toxicity comes in the form of eye irritation, difficult breathing, vertigo, sleepiness, irregular heartbeat, stomach irritation, just all kinds of different problems that you just don't want. Sick building syndrome. That's what we're talking about now, because we've listed a whole bunch of things. And according to a clean air study, which was performed by NASA and the Associated Landscape Contractors of America, the toxins which cause building syndrome are trichloroethylene. I always mess that one up. Trichloroethylene. Now, trichloroethylene causes dizziness, headaches, nausea, and vomiting. Formaldehyde, found in paper bags, facial tissues, and paper towels, well, there's irritation to the nose, mouth, and throat, and in severe cases, the swelling of the larynx and the lungs. Benzene is found in plastic dyes and resins and furniture wax, and you get irritation of eyes, dizziness, headaches, confusion, drowsiness with benzene. Xylene is found in rubber and other types of paint. And once again, more irritation to the mouth, throat, heart problems, headaches, and dizziness, and ammonia is found in window cleaners, floor waxes, and fertilizers of all things. Eye irritation, coughing, and sore throat is what you're going to end up getting with the ammonia. So think about that. Those are the big ones. And what's interesting about it is that, not everybody is actually susceptible to this sick building syndrome. But these are just kind of things that we have to kind of keep in mind. So what do we got to do? We got to bring the outside in with plants. And bringing them in with plants is really interesting because you don't need a whole lot of plants. If you need 1 6-inch pot for every 100 square feet. That's it. 1 6-inch pot for every 100 square feet. But the best thing is that there's a list of plants that you and I can use, and some of them you probably already are using. You just got to remember if you're going to be having them and keeping them indoors, because remember, we're bringing the outdoors in. So these are technically plants. Well, they all started out outdoors, didn't they? These are technically plants that are from the outdoor. You bring them in, but you do have to keep them clean. And sometimes that's as simple as just taking a feather duster on them, or putting them inside in the shower and washing them off, or outside, or whatever. So kind of keep that in mind. So a Ficus benjamina, also known as a weeping fig, a very popular houseplant. There's variegated varieties, which are pretty cool, and there's non-variegated varieties. And there's some of them that have brand new, like red growth when the leaves start emerging, and some of them don't. It's a very temperamental plant, though. If you move it too much, you're going to end up defoliating it. Well, it filters out formaldehyde, benzene, and trichloroethylene. So that's the good thing. Now, in its cousin, the Ficus elastica, known as the rubber tree, and we've seen these plants. These are the ones that have the big oval football-like shaped leaves. The rubber tree. They get very big in houseplants, by the way. They take very little sunlight, so you don't even have to have it near a door or a window. You could probably, if it absorbs light from someplace, that's always best with these plants. But it is going to filter out carbon monoxide, formaldehyde, and just a whole month. I don't want to say trichloroethylene again, because it just hurts me when I say it, and I'm pretty sure that it hurts you too. So trichloroethylene is the name. So remember, a ficus tree, a Ficus benjamina, and a Ficus elastica. Another one, and probably all of anything that is in the philodendron family. Okay, anything. We've seen those real big ones, the monstera plants. Those are in the family, the philodendron family. Super popular plants, aren't they right now? I posted one online, and this lady just ripped me to pieces because the plant leaf was huge. It was actually from the top of my head down to my past my chest, past my beard, actually. And I made a comment what a huge leaf that was, and she was just all over me with that. Yeah, big leaf. Pothos. Any plant in the pothos family, or any kind of pothos, those are the ones that have heart-shaped like leaves. There's a lot of different colorations and variations on that. Absolutely a beautiful plant to use to bring in the outdoors in. Now this next one, chrysanthemums. Oh, by the way, that's formaldehyde for the last one. Chrysanthemums, hands down, one of the best plants that I love, because not only does it work on the trichloroethylene, but it also works on benzene, but the plant just has a wonderful, beautiful smell to it. I like the smell of chrysanthemums. And typically when I go on a road trip and I'm going to stay at a hotel for a couple of extra days, I actually buy plants. And I try to get the chrysanthemums because, number one, they're pretty. Number two, you could smell them. Number three, they're going to work on these different scents and sick syndrome building effects. And when I'm done with it, I just leave the plant there. I don't even take it with me. I leave it there. I leave a note on it for the people who clean up the room, and I thank them for doing so. It's a really good thing to do. Aloe vera plant, great for formaldehyde and also benzene. The aloe vera plant, you're gonna find this one it's almost like a weed, isn't it? You can grow it outdoors. You can dig it up from outdoors, put it in a potted plant, bring it inside the house. And you know what, with a lot of these different plants, once they start tiring out for you, if you were to take them and put them, I mean, the best scenario would be a greenhouse, but most of us will never get a greenhouse in our lives. Put it in the patio and let them get better. And then you switch it out with the same type of plant or with different plants. So you could always switch your plants in and out. Now, probably one of the most expensive plants on the market are the Gerbera daisies. But if you can get yourself a flowering Gerbera daisy, let me tell you, they are really, really wonderful for cleaning up the air. That's what I'm talking about. And then probably lastly over here, I would recommend you doing the Chamaedorea. And the Chamaedorea is known as the bamboo palm. They used to be super, super famous back in the day when you would have this palm tree. People would be selling them by the on the corners and such. They're much more revered now. You'll find them in nurseries. You'll find them in the big box stores. They are plants that are just beautiful. They'll get 6, 7 feet tall if you take care of them properly. And it's really, really a good plant. Let's not forget the peace lily, snake plant. Oh my goodness, snake plant reduces carbon dioxide. But problem is, snake plant is also known as the mother-in-law plant. Or the mother-in-law's tongue plant. So if you don't want to be reminded of your mother-in-law, don't use this one, all right? But Sansevieria is that plant. I've done videos on this plant before, easily propagated. It is a beautiful plant that you could use for your for bringing in. And then also the Boston fern, another great one, very common house plant, usually a hanging basket, but you can put it on the ground as well. But the bottom line here is that you have all kinds of plants like the spider plant that are going to remove the things like carbon monoxide, formaldehydes, benzenes, xylene, all these nasty things. And that is the way we bring the outside in.